Now that we know more about reflective parenting and its connection to psychoanalysis, I would like to focus our discussion on some specific clinical issues.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can you explain why reflective parenting aims to reduce stress?
Well, I've emphasized that before. One of the reasons is because the ability to reflect means you're going to be able to understand that your child's behavior has meaning, that in a way, it's a communication. And if you're not, but when we're under stress, our reflectivity goes out the window. It's like a seesaw. High stress, low reflective capacity, low stress, high reflective capacity. That's why. Just it helps parents' reflective capacity stay at a more optimal level. We know that there's really nothing wrong with stress per se. In fact, we actually believe that some stress is actually necessary. I mean, you don't want your whole life to be a couch potato, right? So some stress is actually healthy. We need it. It helps us motivate ourselves. But what's harmful is when stress is not regulated. And this is where the parent comes in. The parent is the child's stress regulator. So the child is stressed, and the parent helps to comfort, soothe, contain the child's stress from whatever source. Stress could be from, they just have too many things on their plate. Stress could be from some really intense emotion that's very, very painful, powerful disappointment, for example. Whatever the source of the stress, the parent helps to regulate and bring the stress level back down to normal. Now, the stress is going to go up again and down, right? And what really is important, particularly for the community that we're working with, that are families who are living in poverty or at risk, living in communities where there's violence or the parent has a history of trauma, these are really high stress states. And there's something called the ACE study, and that stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. And it's been studied that when a child has more than 3 adverse experiences as a child, it can leave a lasting negative impact on them for the rest of their life, unless someone has been there with them to help them ameliorate the stress, help them regulate the stress. So what are the kinds of stresses I'm talking about? Well, the stresses are things like having a parent who dies, or having divorce, or having some kind of traumatic experience, watching your mother get beat up, things like that. Poverty itself is a stress. Violence in the community, these kinds of things. And when there's a reflective mind in your life, I like to say, let's put a reflective mind in the life of every child. When there's a reflective person who can help you regulate these stresses, it's protective against the negative impact of growing up with adversity. You can really turn a child's life around, transform their trajectory, so to speak. The other thing we know is that when a parent has had trauma, we know that there's something called the intergenerational transmission of trauma. I've been traumatized. I'm not conscious of how it's affected me. I play it out again in the next generation. And if you want to stop that process, this is where being reflective really shines. You can help parents recognize their trauma, recognize how it's affected them, recognize how it's impacting their relationship with their child, and then that helps to stop the intergenerational transmission of trauma. So being reflective has this really protective factor against very stressful situations.
Seems like it's protective. I almost wonder if you would go as far as medicinal.
Yes, I would say that, but like in preventative medicine.
Preventative, yes.
Right. And also it's an intervention, because if something has already been stressful in the child's life and there already is some negative impact, maybe a child was in foster care, that child is in foster care because something bad happened in their family, that child may already have some negative impact. But if you help the foster parent, or perhaps the parent who's going to adopt that child out of foster care, help them understand what's going on, that could be an intervention that gets the child back on track.